Hi, I'm Daniel with etrailer, and today we're going to take a look at, I'm going to show you how to install the Blue Ox base plate on our 2014 Smart fortwo. This video will be focusing on the base plate itself, but you will need 5 main components when doing a flat toe setup. And those components are, of course, your base plate, and then the next is going to be your tow bar. So this is going to be the device that connects to your base plate, and then the other end, of course, will connect to your motorhome. You're going to need your safety cables. Those will connect to your base plate as well. You'll need a braking system, so everything can brake while you're traveling down the road, and then you'll need some wiring so you can make sure people know where you're turning and when you're stopping. Now, a couple other things you will need for your smart car in particular is going to be a battery disconnect, and your manufacturer requires the battery to be disconnected for this to be flat towable. And the other thing you're going to need is a brake light switch. And you will need a brake light switch because you are disconnecting from that battery, so the one in your vehicle is not going to have power. So you just need that really for your monitoring system inside your coach. With that all being said, let's get back to the base plate, and that's just going to be a device that connects directly to your vehicle's frame, and that's going to allow you to connect all of this to the front of your vehicle. So now I'll take this off so you can get a closer look on what this looks like without it connected to your motorhome. So if you just pulled up to your campsite and you want to take your smart car out for a spin, and all you have to do is just disconnect all your components here. I got your safety chains, so just get those disconnected. Disconnect the breakaway switch, the wiring, and finally the tow bar from the base plate. And all you have to do is pull this pin out, retract your arms, and the arms on the base plate will come out as well, so you just pull this pin, turn it, and they'll slide right out. Then you can store these in your vehicle or in your motorhome. And this is what it's going to look like without everything attached. As you can see, most of it's pretty tucked back there, and these just stick out a little bit. And what's nice about this base plate, what I particularly like, is they give you a mounting spot for your 7-pole. Some of the base plates don't give you that, so that's really a nice touch because then you have to figure out somewhere to attach it. They don't give you a bracket, however, for this, but I just put that onto the bumper itself. Something else to keep in mind when flat towing is you want your entire setup here to be as level as possible, and you want to be within 3 inches up or down. So I'll give you the measurement over at our smart car because it does sit pretty low. So from the ground to the center of our arm is going to be about 12 inches. So then all you have to do is measure to the center of your hitch on your motorhome, and then that'll help you determine if you need a high-low adapter, and chances are you will need a low adapter, so you just take the difference, and that's the size you'll need to purchase. Flat tow setups have a ton of different components, so if you have any questions about any of those, or if you're wondering on what components are going to work best with your vehicle, don't hesitate to reach out to us here at etrailer, and we'd love to help you out. Now, as far as the install goes, this is fairly difficult. You are having to take the entire fascia off and a lot of components underneath, and it's really small. Of course, it's a smart car, so there's a lot of hard to get spots. Now, if you don't want to do that yourself, you can check out our dealer locator, and we can find a professional in your area to get this installed for you. But if you're looking to tackle it yourself, follow along, and I'll walk you through how we got this installed. First off, we're going to take our hood off. So there's actually going to be a latch on either side of this grill. You're going to push down on this lever, and this will pull out. You just do that on both sides. Then you can just get both of them and push them out, and that'll unlatch this top piece. We can just pull this out. And there is going to be just a strap. I'll get this off so we can get this lifted away. I'm using a T25. Just take this out and set this to the side. Now I'll use that same bit and remove 2 more fasteners on the front. And then over closer to the top of the headlight, there's going to be more. I'll get these both removed. Near the bottom of the headlight, there's going to be a pushpin style fastener. So I'll just get a flat head and get that cord removed. And once I got the core all the way out, you can just take it behind the big part and get it to come out. I open the driver's side door, and right next to the antenna on this plastic piece, there's going to be a fastener, and I'm using a T30 Torx bit. It's just plastic, so it might be a little hard to get out. But you want to do this on both sides as well. A little bit further down from that fastener we just took off, if there's any other push pin fastener, so I'll just get this one off. Might be a little easier to get a trim panel tool and pull that center out a little bit easier. We need to remove this antenna. That just unscrews. And this plastic piece will come off. So I'm going to push out and away from the vehicle, try and get this to disconnect. One tip I learned to get these out is to get this plastic piece removed as well. This is what our screw was in, so I'll just get that removed. Now we can get it out a little easier. After you remove that piece, it reveals two fasteners. One's going to be a T30, one's going to be a T25. The one closer to the mirror is going to be that T30. I'm at the back of the vehicle, and the wheel well that's in the front of the tire, it's going to have some push pins. We'll get those removed. Now that we got those two push pin fasteners out, we can remove this entire trim piece on the bottom here. And you just want to get your hand and grab the end of it. And there's going to be 5 clips. So you just want to pull down and get all those clips removed. Just kind of work it back and forth if you have to. And then once you've done that, you can shift it back, and that should be able to get this to come out. There we go. There we go. As you can see, these are the fasteners here, and like I was saying, if you shift back, they should be able to come out. That wasn't really working too well for me, so I just kind of grabbed the top of it, pulled it back, and that way I could get it off a little easier. On the front of the vehicle, I'm going to use a T25, remove this fastener. Now remove the fascia, and we'll start by getting these clips on the bottom. There's just going to be a plastic piece, and you just pull it down, pull it out, and it'll get those off. We'll get this pulled off. I got Scott over there giving me a hand. And right over here by our mirrors, we're just going to pull straight out. And there is going to be a plug on your light on the side, so we're just going to give that a 1/4 turn and get this taken out. Just a couple clips in the bottom. Once you've done that, we can just set this to the side. We put some jack stands under the frame supports so we could lift this up a bit, because we need to remove these tires. I got a 15mm socket. Now we will be removing these wheel well liners. So first, there's going to be a push pin closer to the front bumper. I get this removed. And if that center piece comes out, that's not a big deal. You can put that back in later. And right below that, there's going to be another fastener. I'll use a 10mm to get this off. There's another push pin on the top. So we'll get this removed the same way. And there's another push pin on the right side, or the side that's closest to the back of the vehicle. And finally, there's going to be another bolt. It's going to be that 10mm socket that I used, and I already got this removed. I'm at the bumper beam, and I have a T25. There's going to be an air temperature sensor on the inside, and I'm just going to remove this to get this to get off of the bumper. I'll just pull both of these back outside so they are not attached anymore. Now we can take the front bumper off. I got a 3/8 socket, and there's going to be a 4 fasteners here to get these all removed. Get this set to the side back here. On the passenger side, there's only 3 bolts you'll have to remove, because one, it's a cutout, so you don't have to remove that. Now I'll just take the clips off the top. These are to those sensors we took off. And now I will lift this off and set it to the side. Should be a sticker right here, and we'll just remove that. And that's into our frame there. Now next up, we're gonna have to trim this air dam. I just measured from where it creases here, 3 inches up. I'm just gonna take some shears and cut this. Using a 5/16 socket, there's gonna be another fastener in here inside the wheel well. Just get this removed. There's a brake line in the wheel well, and I just took the bracket off and then unscrewed it because we are needing to get the wheel well liner and push this back a bit more, so that just allows us to do that. So I'm just going to push it down from the top. And when I push it down, I got a little more out of it so I can bend it back. And I'm just going to use something to secure it so this can be out of our way. Where we took that factory bolt out, we are going to need to put a bolt back in there. We're going to put the bolt that comes in the kit. I'm just going to use a 10mm socket and get this tightened on. Now you do want the lines on this to be parallel, going this way on the vehicle. So if you can do it with impact, that's cool, but I'm gonna get a wrench and just loosen it up a bit. This is gonna be your side bracket. So you're gonna have one side that's completely welded shut. This is gonna be facing towards the front of the vehicle, and then you're gonna have a side that has an oblong hole, and that's going to be facing towards the front as well. So that's the reason why we made these parallel is because that slotted hole needs to be able to fit over that bolt. Now I'm going to clamp this to the frame because we are going to have to drill 4 holes. And they say to have a 1/4 inch from this inside bracket. And since it is set on this, you can't really get that. So I just make it even as possible here. And then you want the bottom to be flush with the bottom metal here. So I'm going to clamp this up and get these holes drilled out. Once you get everything lined up, I'm going to use a 13/32 and mark each hole. So you can actually put it through this hole on the bottom, and that'll help you line it up. I took our bracket down. Now I can see where I need to drill. I'm just going to use a small drill bit and then work my way up. Let's get all these drilled out. And once you've drilled them to the correct size, just take some spray paint and clean up all those edges so it doesn't rust in the future. Now that we've done that, we can put our bracket back in place, and we'll take our 3/8 hardware with a split washer and get these put in place. When putting hardware in, you want to make sure you get some red Loctite on there. So the two bolts facing the rear of the vehicle, those are going to get your weld plate handle nuts. So I'll get that put on. And you may need to bend these a little bit to kind of help you get them into place. Now repeat that process for this upper hole. Now for the holes that are towards the front of the vehicle, they're going to have the same exact hardware. The only difference is the backs are going to take these whiz nuts. And the bottom one you can get to from the bottom. And the handle nuts that you're going to put in for the top bolts, it's going to be the hole that's in your frame that we took that sticker off of. I use a 14mm socket and tighten everything down. Now the bottom ones are hard to get to. You can use just a ratcheting wrench to get those, but I got a 1/4-inch socket. I can actually just put this through that front hole and get them tightened down this way. I'll torque these down to the specs in the instructions. And if you don't have a torque wrench at home, you can usually rent one from your local auto parts store. Once we've torqued everything down, we can get our plate and align it with those holes. And this plastic piece is pushing us out a bit, so I'm just going to mark it where it's hitting. And we're just going to trim a little piece of this off. I got my shears. I'm just going to get this cut off. We can put this plate on now, and it's going to have the same hardware, and the backs are going to get the welded plate, and the fronts are just going to get that flange nut. On the passenger side, there's going to be a tab we'll have to cut off. It's just a gusset. It's plastic, so I'm just going to use an oscillating tool and get this cut off. And on the driver's side, there is going to be 2 gussets we'll cut off. Now I'm holding our base plate in place, and I'm going to just mark around where we're going to put our safety chain loops. So we will have to cut this out. Now we can get our base plate and put it into position. The bottom hole will actually be a threaded hole in your base plate itself. So we'll take the 1/2-inch bolt, get this threaded in there. And you want a split washer on there as well. On the top hole, we'll get our bolt. On the other side, we'll just put a split washer on and then a nut. And I'll torque all of our hardware down. I'm going to be using a 19mm socket. And I'll use a wrench as well for the top. Next thing to do is to route your safety cables. Now that hole we cut, I did enlarge a little bit to get this through, and I went around all the way around our frame, and I came back and just connected it with the quick link they gave us in the kit. Next, I did trim all those handle nuts off, and then I trimmed this wheel well liner out so this can sit back where it needs to, and you'll have to do this on both sides. Now we got some of the other components mounted on our base plate, like our breakaway switch and our diode wiring. Now we can trim the fascia and put it back in place. I put the fascia back on and I just loosely put it on, and as you can see I had to do some trimming. So what I did was I just got a paint marker and I trimmed kind of around. I went slow just so I didn't have to trim a whole lot. And after that, I completely got the fascia back on and put all of our other components on. Now it is a lot, so do refer to your instructions and kind of go in reverse order just so you don't forget anything. But that's just about it for the look at our Blue Ox base plate on our 2014 Smart for 2.